that you do not have to reverse telecin or reverse interlace, and you do not have to crop. I've only had a couple videos where there was no video filter chain needed, except for one thing, and that's the display aspect ratio flag that you're going to tell. And that's going to be at the very end of your video chain. So remember, you don't always need pull up and soft skip, because it's not always telecin. You don't always need interlace. It's very rarely interlace, so you very rarely need YADF. And sometimes you don't need crop and scale. Remember, if you crop, you better be scaling, because you have to scale back to even 16 macro blocks. So if you crop, you better follow it with scale, always. Unless you just get lucky and you crop your video exactly at 720 by 368 for the extremely wide screens. But anything else, you have to scale back. Back to even 16 macro blocks. Anyway, so remember, pull up is always followed by soft skip. Crop is always followed by scale. YADF doesn't follow anything. But and your de-telecin and your de-interlace filters always come first, if they're even needed. And then after that is when you use your crop and your scale filter. And then after that, and remember, scale always comes after crop, never before. And then after that comes your D-size. D-S-I-Z-E equals D-size. That's display size. That's a flag, a filter that puts certain information into the video stream that tells that whatever's playing that video stream what the display size is for this video stream. And when you transcode, you always put that in there, because sometimes after you crop and scale and shit, for example, these very widescreen movies, these were originally 1.78 to 1 because they had the 54 pixels of black border on the top and bottom. Well, after you crop that shit out, it's still got the 1.78 to 1 flag for display aspect ratio, but it's 2.35 to 1 now. So you always include the D-size filter to put new display aspect ratio information in there. So D-size always uses decimal representation for aspect ratio. So if it's a full screen movie, it would be D-size equals 1.33, and that's it. Not 1.33 to 1, just 1.33. If it's typical widescreen, D-size equals 1.78. If it's slightly wider screen, remember how I told you to discover that, D-size equals 1.85. If it's very widescreen, D-size equals 2.35. You will, every once in a while, if you've got a lot of DVDs, come across aspect ratios that do not fit any of them, like 2.21 or 2.0 or 2.49, but those are very, very rare. You will learn how to recognize them. Now check this out. I will show you real quickly how to find out what the aspect ratio is with a calculator. See this? Look at my screen. Look, my video. This is not 1.78 to 1. Typical widescreen computer displays, because I'm recording my display right now. Everything I see on my display, I'm recording. Typical computer widescreen displays are called a 10:9 ratio, which is not a 16:10. Remember, widescreen movies are 16:9, which is 1.78 to 1. Well, computer displays are 16:10, which is slightly narrower, which you remember how before I told you. You put in the ratio, 16 divided by 10. 16:10 ratio is 16 divided by 10 equals 1.6. 1.6, if I'm transcoding a video, for which I always will, when this video is finished, I'll have to transcode this to make it a better format. When I transcode this, I will put in D-size equals 1.6. That's how you discover your display aspect ratio if you don't know it. If it's not common, that's how you can figure out what the hell it is. And another way is, I know my screen resolution is 1680 by 1050 wide. So that is 1680 divided by 1050 equals 1.6. Now, if you've got a square monitor, a typical regular 720 by or 1024 by 768 monitor, that is a 4:3 ratio, or 1.33. Look, 1024 divided by 768, 1.33 repeating. So that's a 1.33 ratio, or a 4:3 ratio. Anyway, that's how you can find out what a ratio is if it's not a common ratio that you cannot quickly recognize or you're not sure. Always put your D-size filter at the very end. Now that is your filter chain. That has abso-fucking-lutely nothing whatsoever to do with transcoding the video, or rather the video codec, I'm sorry, has nothing to do with the video codec whatsoever. This is a video filter chain to pre-process the video information before it is sent to the encoder. So we are detail ascending it, cropping the borders off, scaling it back up to the correct aspect ratio, or to correct storage size, anamorphic storage size, and then giving it the correct aspect ratio. That is all video filters that are just used to pre-process the video, and then it gets sent on to the video's encoder, the codec. And the codec will just apply its methods to store it in a different format and using different techniques. And then when you're done, the final product is a video that is completely transcoded and clean running, and even increments of 16, no borders, all that shit. Alright, so that's your video filters. Remember, that has nothing to do with the video codec. Alright, now we're going to move on to the video codec. Now, this whole time we've been using mPlayer as the command, and we've just been passing it these filters. Now, that's just to play the video. We applied all these filters just to play the video. And see, check us out. I actually remember how I just applied that widescreen crop to it just to show you an example. You can even convert movies to widescreen if you want, or to ultra widescreen, whatever you want to call it. You can crop them to make it look like whatever you want, but really you should leave it as close to the original, what the intended original format is, as possible. All right. So all that shit that we just set up was shit that was just for mPlayer's benefit to play the movie. Let's change everything back to the correct one for this Bob file. Now we actually need to. What the hell did I say that was before? Alright, there it goes. Now that we got that back to the now we got all the filters taken care of. Change the very beginning. Change the command mPlayer to mencoder. mencoder, and the rest of the command can stay the same. Now, mencoder is mPlayer's encoder. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it actually uses FFmpeg in the some of its back end. Now, with mencoder, first thing you do is pass it the file's name. And actually, the file name can come anywhere in the order. It really doesn't matter. I always put it first. mencoder, the path to the file, the video filter chain. Now check this out. Here's another thing. Actually, no. Let me go back to, change that back to mPlayer. I forgot. There's one thing you need to check out. mPlayer, the path to the video filter chain, and check this out. The audio filter chain comes next. -AF for audio filters. Now here's the thing. DVDs, when they're transcoded and played on a computer, the DVDs are meant for like home theaters, shit like that. Home theaters, they use different speakers. They very responsive across all areas of the spectrum of noise. So you can hear low things, low rumbles, this and that, this and that. The problem is with DVDs, because they're made to be played on home theaters, the volume level is not normalized very well. So what we're going to do is apply an audio filter to normalize it. We're going to call it vol norm and then equals 1. Volume normalization just equalizes out the loud shit and the quiet shit to where it's closer to the same actual volume. And vol norm equals 1 does not say how loud we want it to be. The 1 is what method we want to use. We're using the first normalization method. The second one calls us distortion. You only want to use the first one. Vol norm equals 1 has nothing to do with volume, adjusting volume levels per se. It just tries to equalize out volume levels by adjusting them to be closer to each other. The loud shit closer to the quiet shit. So, and then we use the first method. So you have -AF for audio filters, and then space And then vol norm equals 1. That's your first filter. Now,